Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Stanny Boy Reviews. Tonight we are going to be talking about one of my favorite horror films in the world. If you can't tell by the t-shirt that I'm wearing or any of the posters hanging in the background or any of the merchandise here on my shelf, it is definitely 1996's horror opus Scream. I'm completely obsessed. I've been completely obsessed since I was 10 years old, and I cannot wait to discuss this movie. But before I get into it, I just wanted to give a brief shout out to one of my favorite people in the world, Erin Anderson, who is a tattoo artist here in Los Angeles, who gave me this really cool tattoo that I'm gonna show you. I meant to mention this last week during my Pet Sematary episode. Check this tattoo out, you guys. It is a VHS with Pet Sematary on it. That's how much I love Pet Sematary, you guys. So yeah, if you are ever in Los Angeles and if you ever want some ink, go to Opal Tattoo, ask for Erin. They will give you the best tattoos in the world. Erin, I love you. Okay, moving on. Guys, Scream comes out January 14th, which at this point is literally less than a week away. And if you're like me, you have tickets for not opening night, but pre-opening night. And you can't wait. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this for over a year. That being said, here at Stanny Boy Reviews, the month of January is going to be Scream Month.
What?
That's right. We're not going to go in any particular order. I'm going to keep you on your toes. But without any further ado, we are going to get down to business and talk about everything Scream 1. And we'll review it at the same time. But we're going to have a seat. I just wanted to stand up for a minute so I can show off my awesome shirt that my boyfriend got me. So, here we go. Scream came out in 1996. Perfect time for a horror film to come out around Christmas. I was 10 years old. I remember specifically begging my sister to take me to go see it, but it was something my mom was firmly against. At that point, I was used to horror films like Children of the Corn 3. Scream was something that was just a little too real. It was based off of a real-life murder spree. The Gainesville Ripper, I think is what it was called. I didn't see it in theaters until the month after, and I remember just being completely blown away. I remember I didn't know what to think. I didn't feel safe. And once the movie was over, I just knew that I had to see it again. If I remember correctly, Scream was in theaters for the next 4 or 5 months. I saw it again in April, and I saw it again in May. And then by June, it was already on VHS. From the age of 10 and on, Scream was a huge part of my life, and it has been ever since. Wes Craven is a horror master. Wes Craven is responsible for such classics as A Nightmare on Elm Street, Last House on the Left, The People Under the Stairs, Deadly Friend, The Hills Have Eyes. The list goes on. And a lot of people really wanted to get their hands on this script that Kevin Williamson wrote. A lot of people saw it as a black comedy. Early on, Drew Barrymore was attached. She was originally supposed to play Sydney's character, but she wanted to give the audience a little bit of a mind fuck, and she wanted to die early on, because she didn't want the audience to feel safe. And I remember very clearly that worked, at least on my 10-year-old brain, and I think it worked for everybody else. I remember some of the marketing. There was quotes on like the little ads in the paper that said, verbatim, I remember it very clearly, Drew Barrymore gives a tour de force performance that rivals Janet Leigh's in Psycho. Even as a 10-year-old, I remember having seen Psycho, and I remember that resonating very much. Anyway, it raked in $173 million worldwide, and it is completely responsible for revitalizing the dying slasher genre. Without Scream, we wouldn't have I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, Valentine. It completely brought back to life the slasher genre that had died out in the late 80s and early 90s. We can really thank Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven for that. Let's get down to the plot. Scream is about a young girl named Sydney Prescott, who is played by Neve Campbell, whose mother was brutally raped and murdered a year ago. And on the year anniversary, a new murder takes place, which kind of sets the town into a frenzy. And her friends are dying in the fashion of scary movie scenarios. I'm kind of explaining this in a spoiler-free way, but at this point, if you haven't seen Scream, where the fuck have you been? You've been living under a rock. This movie's been out for 25 years, so I'm just gonna go forward in a kind of a spoiler-prone way. We start off on a dark night. Casey Becker, played by Drew Barrymore, is receiving threatening phone calls from someone who claims they are watching her from her backyard, basically. And he is torturing her with scary movie trivia and telling her that if she gets the questions wrong, that he's going to kill her. That's basically what happens. He kills her boyfriend, and then he kills her. After that, we find Sidney Prescott. She has a boyfriend named Billy who is pressuring her to have sex. She has a best friend named Tatum, a geeky movie nerd friend named Randy. There's another kid in their group named Stu, who is Tatum's boyfriend. Basically, these kids are now being targeted by the killer. They're in a group of kids who know the situation because of the movies that they watch. And the killer is wearing a ghost face mask that looks like this. This is a pipe that I used to smoke pot out of. But yeah, this is what the killer's mask looks like, and he's wearing a dark black cloak. What's happening is very akin to a scary movie. There's also a reporter named Gail Weathers, who has written a book based off of the murder of Sydney's mother. And Sydney testified during that trial against a man named Cotton Weary, and he was having an affair with her mother, etc., etc. There is also a deputy, a cop, who is the older brother of Tatum, and he's kind of like a goofy, dim-witted, but adorable that nobody really takes seriously. Shortly after the murder of Casey and her boyfriend, Sydney is attacked, and we are under the impression that it is her boyfriend. The movie is very good at playing tricks on us, and eventually this killer is specifically after Sydney, and we're not entirely sure why. Her dad goes missing, all hell breaks loose. We end up at a party. These kids are left to fend for themselves at the mercy of a bloodthirsty, knife-wielding psychopath in a ghost mask. There is a lot of bloodshed. Even 25 years later, watching this movie, just the other night before doing this review, I watched this movie, and I'm still, as a 35-year-old adult, just like, I'm still picking my jaw up off the floor. I'm just like transported back to a different time period, and it just ages so well. It's such good directing. It's such good acting. Like, these actors are really good. The effects are outstanding, and it's as simple as just 50 gallons of fake blood. This movie's good, man. It's thrilling, and it's fun, and it's got a spook element to it that doesn't seem to die even all these years later. And that's what makes this franchise so fun, is that it carries over into each film so effortlessly. And I think the casting of Neve Campbell, David Arquette, and Courtney Cox specifically really make this movie what it is. The combination of Wes Craven directing and Kevin Williamson as the writer really make for a tremendous collaborative effort. Well, I suggest you get up and watch it again, because Scream is still an A+ movie, man. It's still really good. And the score is by Marco Beltrami, and again, I have it on vinyl, guys, and I have the CD still. I still have the CD. It's so good that they ended up using the same score basically for the rest of the teen slasher movies that came out throughout the 90s. They use the same score in The Faculty. They use the same score in Halloween H2O, basically. The songs that they use on the soundtrack itself, like Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Red Right Hand, it's notorious. And the slow Gus cover of Don't Fear the Reaper, which is an homage to Halloween 1978, is just spot on. The impact that Scream has had on the slasher genre, it's amazing. All these years later, we still talk about it, and we see that familiar face. We see this ghost face. We see this, and we know what it is. And my boyfriend made this, by the way. I think this is so cool. You see these on Etsy all the time, and I don't know how much they go for, but my boyfriend made this. I think this is so spectacular. I got this for Christmas. Scream is a cultural phenomenon. It's by far one of the best slasher movies ever made, ever put on celluloid. So clearly, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 out of 10 out of 1,000 out of a zillion. One of Wes Craven's best films. I'm excited to talk about another one of these movies because each movie is different. They're so much fun. I just watched all of them the other night to prepare myself for these little reviews, and they're all just so much fun. Like, there's never a dull moment. Like, even if you think like, oh, it's Scream, like, it's not just Scream. Like, it's not just Scream. It's never just Scream. Like, Scream is an event. That's why I'm so excited for next week when this 5th movie comes out. We're on Scream 5. I cannot wait. I'm going to be going with my boyfriend. I'm going with the hosts of Movies That Made Us Gay, Pete and Scott, and I'm also going with the hosts of Happy Horror Time with Matt and Tim and Jacob. And I cannot wait, you guys. And if you haven't listened to Movies That Made Us Gay or Happy Horror Time, this is their plug. Go listen to them. They're amazing. They're so funny. And they have great content. Also, I was a co-host on an episode of Movies That Made Us Gay once. So this is my plug for episode 127 for The Ice Storm. So if you ever get around to it, go check that out. Movies That Made Us Gay also did an episode on Scream featuring one of the hosts of Happy Horror Time. And it's hilarious. Go watch Scream. For the love of God, go watch Scream. What are you doing with your life? Like, what are you doing?
What are you waiting for, huh?
That's it, you guys. I'm really excited for next week, whichever Scream I decide to cover. Who knows which one it's gonna be. And I hope that you take a moment to subscribe. And if you have any comments, any feedback, please feel free to leave them. Take care of yourself for now. Take care for now.